as the prehistoric Ragusa cows amble back to the field to start getting ready for the next batch of cheese making, I am heading away to see the warehouse where the finest cheese, the Caciocavallo, is stored. I felt I was suffering in the heat in Rosario's little dairy earlier, but this midday sun really is something else. So I leave it to the mad dogs and Englishmen and head inside to see where Rosario's cheese ends up. Wow. This is almost the final stopping point for the Caciocavallo cheese. And after seeing the cows been milked this morning, the cheese gets made and it's held for 2 days and then brought here to this wonderful warehouse. And I suppose it's like a fine wine really, it just takes time to mature. So some of the cheeses here are well over 2 years old. And the best of the cheese here actually has a Ragusana stamp, which is an EU stamp, which signifies that it is by far the finest Caciocavallo you could ever have. As I wander around this cold, damp place, I feel like I've been transported back in time, a very long way. There is an almost overpowering smell coming from all of this strong, mature cheese. And as it's the only cheese warehouse in the area, there's quite a lot of it. All of the Ragusa cheesemakers bring their cheese here to be air-dried, soaked in brine, or for some reason, scraped. The company that run this Aladdin's Cave of Cheese is owned by Raffaele Criscione. And he explains the scraping, saying that the air is full of spores, so the cheese gets a coating of green mould, which actually does no harm, but does look unattractive, so it has to be removed. E quanti anni è questo?
Questo è messo qua.
I was wondering how Raffaele keeps track of which cheese belongs to which local cheesemaker, and when it is ready to leave the warehouse. And here's the answer. They all mark the cheese with their own individual stamps to keep a record of when the cheese was made. This one I'm looking at is about a year old, so that's the date, and the second stamp identifies the maker.
Stanno 2-3 mesi fino a quando vengono richiesti.
The last stage of the process is to give the cheese a rub with olive oil, leaving it lovely and glossy.
Extravergine, esatto. E sono pronti per essere venduti.
It's amazing the number of uses we find for olive oil. I'm starting this next dish by pouring a generous measure of extra virgin over these aubergines for a recipe called polpetta di melanzana.